Welcome to Ball Street Studios for this PalaceFanTV end of season review show. I'm Jim Daly, and with me is a smorgasbord of the best Palace fan bloggers on the internet. We've got Terence Ford from Red and Blue Army, we've got Crame from the Eagles Beak, we've got Chris Grierson from eagles.cpfc.co.uk, and Jack Thurston from Hopkin Looking to Curl One. Welcome, chaps.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good, that's wonderful. This is the first of 4 videos we're doing for the end of season review. We're going to start by looking at the first half of the season with Neil Warnock in charge of Palace. You can subscribe to PalaceFanTV to make sure you get all the videos and more, because there's all sorts of stuff going on. So make sure you subscribe to get all the latest videos. Okay, chaps, we're going to start off by talking about Neil Warnock and the start of the season at Palace, which wasn't a memorable one for the right reasons. It kicked off, of course, 48 hours before the season with Tony Pulis walking out. It looked like we're going to start brilliantly in the season, great summer, and then Pulis goes. Terry, how did we feel about that at the time?
Typical as a Palace fan when just you feel like the rug under your foot that could be pulled out at any point is turning into a carpet. All of a sudden it's back to a rug and it's just pulled away. Mm-hmm. For the first time in decades as a Palace fan, it felt like we were going somewhere, we were going to consolidate ourselves as a top level team, and all of a sudden everything was taken away from us. It was devastating at the time.
It was quite a disappointing start to the season with Pulis going. Did anyone feel that actually it might kind of be a good thing for Palace, or are we all in agreement it was bad? Chris, how did you sort of feel about it?
Well, at first, when Pulis went, I was gutted. So was my girlfriend. My girlfriend ate a whole jar of Marmite that night because she was so upset at Pulis leaving.
Is that wise? I feel like that might be a health and safety
Yeah, it was quite
issue.
worrying. She was, She looked very yeasty when I got home.
Okay.
But I was glad as well because it's the first time ever that you really felt like, oh yeah, we'll stay up. Yeah, no problem. Suddenly that happened. But I find the excitement of looking for a new manager. I love it.
It is kind of classic Palace, isn't it?
Yeah.
That every time something's going well, we'll flip the switch, something go different. And I feel like in a way Palace fans are sometimes quite addicted to that change, that excitement. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, definitely. It's like, being like Palace is like playing a computer game, isn't it? It's like playing Football Manager because it's as exciting as that because you get the I don't know, I always find myself drawn back to the BBS whenever those things happen. It's like when you get used to you move from in the transfer window, you're on the transfer hotline, and then you're like, oh, what are we going to do when the season's on? Oh, we've lost a manager. Let's go over to general Palace discussion and see what's happening there with the manager. So.
Jay, how were you feeling when Pulis went?
Similar to the guys already said, pretty gutted about it. After a tremendous season the season before, finishing when we did, looking forward to a positive season and what we could actually do from that point on with Pulis in charge. And 2 days before the season started, a trip to Arsenal on the cards and losing our manager, absolutely gutted, like most Palace fans were, I think. And like you said, it's typical Palace, isn't it? Really, from the past at least, anyway.
Does it kind of feel with Palace that we don't actually do things the easy way? That actually maybe the manager going 48 hours for the season is actually kind of just classic Palace. Do you know what I feel that way, Jack? That maybe that's just the way we do things?
I don't ever buy into the idea that it's classic anything. I think it's something that's psychological and it breeds within a club. For example, like how Liverpool haven't won the league in X amount of years. It's not because it's classic this, it's because the fans, the club, the people around the club get into a mindset that it's not possible, and that anything that good can come for Palace is always going to be on the cusp of something bad. So that's kind of how I felt, really.
Well, it was Pulis that was trying to get out of that mindset, wasn't it? He was one last season that was trying to say, this is a team that belongs in the Premier League. And I think maybe we're seeing that now, but does it feel like maybe a year ago we still weren't quite feeling like that, Chris?
Well, it's actually, as Pulis, it's actually Parish as well. He said it a few times, that the important thing for the club is exactly what you said, that if everyone says, oh, it's all going to go wrong soon, then it will happen because there'll be a nervousness around the club when the team's playing. And Pulis and Parish were both trying to just say we need to carry on being positive because we always knew the second season was going to be the most difficult because it's when expectations go up.
Well, yeah, you look at Hull, which leaves us as the only promoted team from that class of 2012-13 who's still in the division, and we won the playoffs. Those are the two that went up automatic, and we're only ones who are still there. And you do feel that there is something different around the club in terms of that belief that we belong was more instilled with us as opposed to Cardiff and Hull.
So Pulis' legacy, if we can call it, obviously staying up the last season, but maybe instilling a little bit of that belief, Jay, like maybe actually making us feel that we belong here a little bit more. Is that a Pulis thing as well?
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of confidence, and obviously Pulis left us in a position where we had a decent squad of players. So there shouldn't have been any negativity around the club in terms of the future because we lost a manager. But I think it just, as Jack said, it kind of breeds around the club at a time when something goes wrong. You're always looking for something to go wrong around the corner, and that's kind of what's happened in the past for Palace. But kind of things have sort of changed a little bit for now. So
yeah, I think in that January transfer window under Pulis, we went from a Championship, high level, low level Premier League team to, oh, actually we've got some really good players here in bringing in the likes of Scott Dan and so on.
Does it feel a bit weird? Does it feel a bit weird being positive about Palace? Thinking, because in my lifetime, every time Palace go up, you're like, well, we'll be down in the season. Does it feel weird going from that Championship team to being an established team? Or are you guys enjoying it?
It's much more better for your health.
Well, you're not eating jars of Marmite, are you?
No,
so that's probably...
I'm more of a Bovril man anyway, but it's beside
unacceptable.
But yeah, I think, like I said earlier, if you change the culture, you'll see a lot better sort of reactions from fans. People will be more positive around the club, and that's again going to breed more success. So, the longer you go sort of wallowing in misery and this is going to happen again, the more likely it's going to.
Okay, so Pulis goes, Keith Millen comes in. I think we can all agree is a Palace legend, and we love him like we love members of our own family. Possibly more in my case.
Or like Chris's girlfriend loves Marmite.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. That is unprecedented levels of love. Do you think your girlfriend loves Marmite more than she loves you?
No, definitely not.
Okay, good. Glad we got that confirmed. Okay, let's talk about Keith for a little bit then, because obviously he's going to feature again in the next video that we do of this season review, because Keith seems to become manager every 6 months. He's an absolute hero.
Tempting fate.
He's a hero for stepping in, isn't he? Like, Palace fan, local lad. Like, I think we all love Keith, don't we? I mean, this might be the quickest question I do for you guys.
Safe pair of hands, isn't he? Steadies the ship.
Yeah, so we're going, that's cliche number one. Can we get a...
Back to basics is the third one.
Okay.
If you want.
Can we get a cliche counter
Local
on?
Cliche bingo.
Local lad, yeah.
Cordon boy.
He's a top man, isn't he?
One of our own.
Good. I think that's 5 in a row, so that might be a record. So, he's just... In an ideal world, would Millen be manager one day?
I think when you think back to last season, and he wasn't interested when he did the caretaker role, this season you kind of got a little bit more that maybe he might be interested in the job, and I don't know if he blew his big chance against West Ham in the 3-1 loss, but I'm still not sure he's quite ready for, especially if you look in comparison to the level of manager we've now got in as a result. Neil Warnock aside, skip that one out. You've got, it would have been tough for Keith Millen to come in and manage a Premier League team, I think. So I think it's worked out perfect for him in that sense to still be involved in the club. You've got to be careful what you wish for. Sometimes you look back to Steve Kember all those years ago, really wanted the job and lost his affiliation with the club for quite a long time. So
Millen has obviously been assistant now under 4 managers at Palace, so he's learning from different styles of play, different managers. That can only be good, can't it, Jay?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, normally some managers come in and clear out the backroom staff and start again, but that's not been the case at Palace. He's stuck around with a few of the other coaches, so I think it says a lot for what he knows about the club, and there's been some consistency, which has helped us, I think. You couldn't begrudge him if he wanted to go out and work in the lower leagues as a manager and cut his teeth in the lower leagues if he wanted to do that, but it's great to have him around. We've called him in a few times and he's done all right.
Okay. Shall we talk about Neil Warnock? If we talk about Neil Warnock, we're going to have to. We're going to have to talk about Neil Warnock, that's fine. Obviously, an ex-Palace manager who first time round was fairly successful at the club. Something was different this time round, wasn't it, Jack? Something wasn't quite the same. It wasn't the old Neil Warnock of before.
I have to say, on camera, and I'll be honest here, that I was one of the people that when he came back in said, give him a chance based on what he did last time, and I got slated for it. But then again, I think you look back to the first time, you look at the attacking options that we had, and we still didn't, if you look at it realistically, we still didn't beat Bristol City over 2 legs with that team. So he got us quite far and we played attacking football and stuff, but I don't know, looking back now with sort of a better perspective, having seen him a second time, it's probably safe to say that he was never cut out to be our manager in the Premier League, for sure. So.
Yeah, he just looked happy to be there. Like, he couldn't believe his luck, is what he looked like after the time. And it was always in
a competition.
Exactly, always in the interviews. Every time you speak to, the lads were terrific today. But you're just like, no, mate, we've lost like 3 Premier League games on the bounce now, and you don't look like you've got any clue about what to do with it other than what you did in the mid-2000s, which was throw strikers on the field and see if that works once you fall a goal behind. It was just... we were on a trajectory to relegation under him.
It wasn't an ideal appointment, was it, given that Palace did go after Malcolm Mackay and then all that stuff happened, and Warnock is close to the board and close to the chairman, so it felt a little bit like he was just sort of helping out Jay, wasn't it? So it wasn't ideal, but he was there to help out.
Definitely, and I think it probably worked for us in the short term. For certain, I'm similar to Jack. I was one of the guys that said give him a chance. You know, he knows the club. Taken on from Pulis, similar kind of style, you know, sort of saying, a dinosaur kind of manager, as people call it, but you know, it's kind of showed himself as not being up to that level in the Premier League, which, you know, unfortunately was what happened. But I was one for giving him a chance and seeing what he could do. Did all right for us before, knew the club, and I think it's probably an appointment which is probably right at the time, you know, position we were left in at the start of the season. We needed a manager, we knew the club. You know, bring him in, give him a chance. Does
he still leave Palace as a bit of a Palace hero? Does he still leave for you, Chris, as a guy with good memories for you despite the last few months?
It was good to interview.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got some great stories. It was always pleasant.
Yeah.
You still get some decent wins with him as well.
Well, we've got the Liverpool result, obviously, which, you know, arguably result of the season, and arguably goal of the season, which we'll come on to in video 3.
I thought it was going to be the turning point, that win against Liverpool, but it never really happened, did it?
That was the season before as well. We had a big win just before Holloway left. Was it the Sunderland game, maybe? When we won 3-1, and on the official season review, Mile Jednak said we thought this was going to be the turning point, and it felt like the same around that time. But
then why wasn't it a turning point?
Because Neil Warnock was tactically inept at Premier League level. The games left him behind, and there was no way he was. You know, look at it. Liverpool are not the side they were even last season. Obviously, taking Suarez out that lineup and Sturridge out that lineup, they're not the team they were. So Liverpool were effectively cannon fodder a lot of this season. We put 6 goals past them in the league this season and beat them 3-1 comfortably both times. So when you look at it from that aspect, it's probably not that big a win. His most impressive win was the win at Everton. But again, that was probably Roberto Martinez's ignorance or stubbornness to play the same way like the season before. We went there and won 3-2 with no right to, because if you want to give Balassi the freedom of your ground by bombing your fullbacks on, by all means go and do that. So you're going to leave that space behind and he will punish you.
What was the moment for you guys when you realised it wasn't working and we might actually be in a bit of trouble going down? Because the Southampton game obviously was the low point, but is there anything earlier for you, Jay, where you thought, oh, hang on, we might be in a bit of trouble here?
Well, I think Warnock got some results at points where we thought he might have gone or left the board in a position where they would have had to make a decision. It was also the Villa game, the loss to Villa, the loss to Sunderland at home. I mean, our home form's been atrocious all season. But it's not just been Warnock. I mean, you know, we've kind of lost games at home after that. But I think I don't know whether it was a team or him or just luck that he seemed to get results at the points where we thought he might risk losing his job. And I think ultimately they lost at home to Southampton. Yeah, it's no... You know, losing at home to Southampton is not, it's not the worst result in the world, but I think the way it came before that and the build-up to it, I think it was probably left in a position where he had to...
I think you make a really good point. He never actually went on a run of losses, like big losses. He always nicked a draw somewhere he won 3 games, I think, each time, but they always came at very timely times.
Yeah.
But for me, the big concern came out of losing games that we won last season. I felt kept us up, taking 6 points on teams like Hull and so on, but we were losing we'd already lost to Sunderland, you lose to Hull. These are games where these are teams around us and you need to win these games if you want to stay in the division, and we just were not winning those games.
Was it the right time when he went? Had he gone earlier, would we potentially be in a different position, or was actually going on Boxing Day or just after? Was it the right time, Jack?
Yeah, I think he could have gone earlier, to be honest. Going back to what you were saying about sort of his tactical substitutions and things like that, whereas we've seen with Pardew since, it's proactive. If he sees something's about to happen, he will make changes to sort of alter it, whether it be throwing an extra attacker on because, you know, we're not getting enough men in there inside their half or whatever. But with him, it was always reactionary. We'd go a goal down in the first 10 minutes every single game, and it would take till the 70th, 80th minute for him to make any sort of decent substitutions where we might have some hope of getting back in the game. So, but I think it was definitely the right time to go. It shouldn't have been any later, that's for sure.
And it proved to be the right decision for Palace because Alan Pardew came in, and the rest is history. We'll talk about that in part 2. I'm going to leave this video on a question for you guys. It's true or false question. So true or false, when Pulis left the club, Palace stopped selling CPFC baseball hats in the club shop. Is that true or false?
Surely that's a Chris Grierson question.
I wasn't working for the club then. I'd say false.
Anyone else? What do you reckon?
I'll go with true just to give the opposite side.
Good.
Yeah.
False, I'll go.
False. It's definitely false, I think. I'm assuming it's false. Why would they stop selling baseball hats? And that wraps up our first video from this season review. In part 2, we'll be looking at Alan Pardew and his arrival at Crystal Palace. Make sure you subscribe to PalaceFanTV for all the latest videos we've got here, and we'll see you in video 2. Taking a manager from Newcastle shows a lot of intent. Now, Newcastle aren't as massive of a club as they like to make out that they are. Real Madrid of the North, or whatever they want to call themselves.